Hey T-Heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. It's Friday morning here, about 5 a.m. It's dark outside. It's a blustery winter morning, and I woke up this morning with that distinct sense of that sweet melancholy. You know, that feeling that we all get from time to time where you just feel a certain sadness or a certain reflective nature about the passing of time, the passing of your life, mortality, impermanence, etc., etc., etc. And I woke up with that heavy feeling in my heart. And I just thought, oh, the last thing I want to do is switch on the cameras and do a video. But I thought, you know what? What's the point of doing anything if you're not going to be authentic? And what's the point, especially of putting it out as a recording for whoever may be watching this, if you're not going to be authentic? And so here I am. And what I like to do in these situations when I'm feeling a certain level of reflectiveness, a certain level of melancholy, is that I like to lean into it. I like to lean into it, accept it, observe it, and drink tea. Tea is one of those drinks that it sort of suits all moods. You know, if you're feeling happy, tea is great. If you're feeling less than happy, tea is great. If you're feeling anxious, tea is great. If you are feeling like you're a bit too sleepy and you want to pep up, then tea is great. If you're feeling hot, tea is great. If you're feeling cold, tea is great. Tea just is the universal in my life. And I'm so thankful that I found it, because it allows me to lean in to whatever is going on and focus in on a session and drink. And invariably, I'm going to say it's a magical cure to feeling melancholy, but it gives you a certain perspective. And I've done a video before about how tea can make you happier through its reflection on impermanence, and lots of other videos, the way of tea. Check out videos. I'll put them in the description below. So I'm not going to talk much about that, because I really do want to do this tasting here, because these two teas have just come in and I want to try them. But just a note that this may not be as perky as some of my other videos, but hey, that's okay, right? So today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be tasting two Yanchas, and I'm happy about that, because when I'm feeling like a bit like cold and everything's dark, I kind of like to lean into those deeper, darker teas. So I've got two Yanchas. One of them is going to be our next Empress oolong. If you don't know about Empress oolong, aka Da Hong Pao, of which there are many, many Da Hong Paos out there. Da Hong Pao is sort of a catch-all phrase to describe a style of tea. Check out my video about the sort of definitions of Da Hong Pao. But this is a Chidan cultivar. So Chidan is the cultivar which is as close as possible to the original Da Hong Pao mother trees. And I'll leave it at that, but you can check out the video. So I've got that here, and I've also got a new Yancha which we're bringing in called, I don't have a name for it, but it's a Jin Mudan cultivar. Jin Mudan, aka Golden Peony, was originally developed. It's not a very old cultivar, maybe about 40 years old or so, but it could be older. It's a cross between two Tieguanyin varieties, or two varieties that are often used to make Tieguanyin. So it's a variety that has been designed for more light oolongs. And recently we bought Fig Butter Black, which is like a new school black tea, which is made with this cultivar, which I love. And I've been tasting Golden Peony Yanchas for quite a few years. This one really captured me and reminded me of what I love about Fig Butter Black. So hopefully that continues as we unbox these teas, essentially. Right, so what am I doing? Right, I'm going to put some hot water in here. So how do you feel at the moment? We all go through these moments where you have a sort of reflective, you know, I think it's really important that when, I've got to remember to keep brewing, I'll just keep talking. I think it's really important that you accept and acknowledge all aspects of your emotional life, and that you don't try to fight them, but instead try to celebrate them just as much as the celebratory moments in your life, because they still represent life's experience, you know, and life's experience, no matter what, is glorious, in my view, and I hope in your view too. And so, you know, it's important, I think, that in my view, that I think a lot of the time what happens is we should feel a certain way, as opposed to acknowledging the way that we're feeling, and then that helps to bring about more transformation in your life. Just my point of view. So if you're feeling that you are, I don't know, you're feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders, or you're feeling that sense of impermanence, or you have a lot of stress or worry in your life, or maybe everything's going great in your life, but there's this sort of sense of impending dread, you know, like lean into it, observe it, accept it. I think fighting things is always the worst thing to do. The battle is what makes things stronger, or makes things seem more insurmountable. I don't want people to think that I'm going through some deep, dark depression at the moment. It's just, you know, those moments, those times, especially I find at this time in the morning, you know, 4:30, you wake up, have a shower, and then like 5 o'clock, you sort of want to get on with your day. And there's it's dark outside, it's quiet. It's a moment of reflection, which is why I love this time of the morning, why I've become addicted to getting up so early. It's not just because I'm a workaholic. Right, so now we're going to focus on the trees. We're going to focus on the plants. We're going to focus on nature. We're going to focus on the wisdom of nature and see how that connection to humans is what tea is. Connection between humans and nature. Here we go. Chidan, Empress oolong. I don't have the scope on this. That's how ill-prepared I am. Let's just focus on the senses. Oh, bags and bags of beautiful aroma. Varnish, cherries, cherry candy, cherry boiled sweets, bourbon casks. Not too much char, not too much charcoal. I don't like yanchas that just give me a nose full of charcoal or roast. I mean, it's warm, it's nutty, it's got almond brittle, some brown sugar, a lovely combination of the sweet brown sugars, almond brittles, vanilla, it's fruitier than that, but there is like maybe cherry fudge, so fudgy, but then moving into cherries, some mangosteen as well, tropical. I love about some of these yanchas is that mangosteen note. Summer haze, Chilan is really rich in that, but this one is more embedded within the warmth of those almond brittles and that little varnish wood note, like I imagine like a cherry flavored varnish. Okay, now let's see how the cultivar shifts, the genetics shifts, same area, same basic production style. The main difference here is cultivar. This is the Jin Mudan cultivar. Here we go. Oh, very different. Now I am getting more vanilla bourbon. Bourbon casks. A slight, oh, there's still fruit in there. I'm going to say tangerine and poached pears, but then also baking spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, speculoos biscuits. So differences. This one, the fruits are less tropical, less bright. The Jin Mudan expresses a little more of the bake. It's got those baked cookies, baked biscuits, Christmas speculoos biscuits. And then the fruit is more like poached pears and a bit of tangerine skin twang and lots of sort of vanilla bourbons. Whereas this one is a bit more tropical, I'm getting more of the mangosteen, more cherry, brighter, more of that varnish higher up the nose. This goes higher. This is up here versus down here. All right, let's give these a rinse. Frog, fill your gob. And we're going to see how these leaves wake up, just like me waking up. Look a bit blurry-eyed. I wake up and the first thing I try to do is take a cold shower, just to, you know, it's the last thing you want to do and therefore it's the best thing to do. You know, it's one of those situations where it's like, it sets the tone. It's like, right, let's go grab life. Okay, here we go. Oh, so high, so bright. Oh, mangosteen, cherries, wet wood, rhubarb. Oh, I love the smell of rhubarb. It's bright, it's twangy, it's acidic on my nose, it's dancing, and there is still warmth, of course. There is still that woodsy warmth. A little bit of that fudgy warmth. But if I was to sort of draw the balance, and that's where these flavor wheels are sort of useful. If you look at the flavor wheels on our website, you can sort of see the balance. It's more of a visual thing. It's got a very balanced note, but then there's this bright, high, you know, peak of incredible fruits. I mean, you could sort of name lots of fruits. Touch of guava. It's all in that tropical, sour candies. Like if you smell like you know, not just, like take some generic sour candy patches or whatever, sour candies. That smell of just, it's so bright. It's like vitamin C brightness, but it's glorious with all those tropical fruits. That's a smell that you could, that's a smell to lift anybody's spirits, that one. All right, here we go. Jin Mudan. Deeper. Okay, it's still got lots of cherries. It's got this sort of ethanolic note to it, like plum wines, kirsch, like cherry schnapps. Yeah, cherry schnapps, kirsch, plum wine, so sweet. Amaretti biscuits. But then, so the biscuits, it's the speculoos moving into the biscuits. It's extremely balanced as well. So much going on. I mean, if you focus on the base by breathing a bit slower, I'm getting like butter cookies and amaretti. If I breathe a bit stronger, I'm getting like raspberry jam. And then I smell higher, I'm getting cherries, plum wine. This is a very interesting, like ethanolic, like alcoholic note to it, which I really love. Okay, let's get these brewed up. Gonna brew them hot and I'm gonna brew them long, and I'm not planning to have too many infusions here. I just want to give you a snapshot of the difference that the cultivar makes in tea. Cultivar is so crucially important. It is one of the most important, it's one of the important characteristics for tea, and it is one of the telltale signs that I would tell everybody. Like, you want to know if a tea seller or a tea producer is serious about their teas, then they should tell you cultivar on the pack. Because if they don't, it's such a dereliction of duty, in my opinion. It's like, That is what you should be. You need to be informing people. It's like if you went to a wine shop and it just said red wine from Italy, you'd be like, well, which one? It was like, which cultivar? Like, give me some information. Not just so that I have that information because I can then repeat it, because then when I drink, I can say, okay, interesting. I note similarities of that same cultivar across different origins, or I note the similarity of an origin across different cultivars. It gives you coordinates from which you can map out your tea journey. Without the cultivar, you're just swinging blind, right? It's like, everything. Like you buy chocolate, you buy alcohol. Like, you want to know the information, not because, it tells a nice story, but because it's part of your education. Whether or not you see it as a formal education or not, why not? Whatever you do, make it a learning experience, Again, like, that's life, right? No matter what you do, no matter what you're feeling, no matter, what you're going through, make it a learning experience. Even if it's not pleasant, make it a learning experience, Easier said than done. I'm not trying to be flippant, of course. I know there are a lot of people out there go through a lot of, things that are, that I cannot fathom. But, I think that the principle applies, even though it may not be a principle which is easy to put into practice. Right, I'm brewing these long. I'm not going for, time lapse so much in this one. I feel like I just want to brew them long, and I just go with my feeling on this. It reminds me of when I went to Wuishan, and one of the producers was brewing Yancha, and I just couldn't believe how long he was leaving the Yancha, and but it was still a glorious session. Color of the liquor. Let's see how different they are. So brewed for pretty much the same amount of time. Different, very different. So the Jin Mudan is darker. Interesting how that translated in the nose. Remember I was saying it's a bit deeper. Well, visual of that. Okay. Get in our cups. And let's see how the Empress is doing this year. So this is an autumn 2020, no, a spring 2023 harvest. The reason I said autumn is because they roast it in the autumn. So we don't expect to receive them until late autumn for tasting. I always tell you, if you're seeing Yancha put on the market of the same year that it's produced, okay, if it's sort of October, November, December, possible. But anywhere earlier, not been roasted well enough. Okay, here we go. Texture. Oh, that first sip in the morning is a moment for you. It's a moment to savor. Okay. Texture is really lovely. It's medium thick. But what's interesting about it is this combination of mineral and softness that is a very unique thing. I think recently, maybe even last week, depending on my release schedule, I did a video about an expensive rogueway and saying that there were holes in the experience because it didn't have enough character. Check out the video. I'll put a link in the description below. And in this example, the character is saying, I'm special. I'm different. It's somehow mineral, yet soft. And I don't know how it pulls that off, but it does. Taste. Oh, it's glorious. Cherry. Again, I think I said that multiple times with this. So cherry, but then it's warmed up, but not like warm, like too warm, not too dark. Color-wise, it's still sort of in the vanilla territory, like fudges, but I would say more like if you imagine a cherry sponge cake, that would be my best sort of way to describe it. It's sweet. It's got a sweet, like agave syrup sweetness. There's a lot of mangosteen. If you love mangosteen, and if you don't love mangosteen, then wow, because it is just such an incredible fruit. A good one. Hate it when you peel one of those mangosteens and they're like, oh, you know, they're not right, but that's, you know, the way with fruit in general. Yeah, if you love mangosteen, then you're gonna love this aftertaste and this, and the taste and the aftertaste. Right. Ooh, what is that? Mangosteen, cherry, macerated strawberries, pomegranate syrup. So bright, berry-like. Berry-like, they're not berries, but you know, cherry is a berry. But very fruity. But then this creamy undertow, vanilla fudge, and sponge cake, and rice pudding. Imagine taking like pomegranate syrup, cherry syrup, so cook down cherries, cook down strawberries, cook down pomegranates, turn it into a very sticky sweet syrup, and then drizzle it over a vanilla rice pudding and eat it with a wooden spoon. Right, here we go. Jin Mudan. Now, what I love about fig butter black is this buttery, creamy, biscuity note in it that offsets so well with like this sort of creosote, like medicinal creosote note and fig note in it. Incredible tea. If you've not tried that tea, try it. So this is the same cultivar. Let's see if there's any, this is what I mean about the education. So you can take the same cultivar in different types of tea, right? You can't do that in wine. You couldn't take a Cabernet Sauvignon, at least I don't know that you could, and turn it into a white wine. Could you? Maybe you could. Sorry, my wine skills, not up to scratch, clearly. Cheers, everybody. Let's focus on texture. Thick and mineral. Thick. Wow. Different. Taste. Oh, so different. Let me try and get my head into this. I'm still getting that tangerine, but it's like baked. Imagine you've taken baked tangerine or roast. Yeah. Slice up a tangerine and bake it. So it's got this warmth and slight toasty note to it as well. I'm getting those amaretti biscuits. I'm getting those speculoos, but it's more like, again, like slightly Christmassy, like gingerbread men or gingerbread biscuits. don't have to be men. Bourbon casks, cherry liqueur. Oh my, the mouth finish on this is very, very unique. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's so much going on. Let me sort of pass it all in my head, try to let it all dissipate, and then I'll come back to it for the second infusion. Oh, cream central. Il flottant. Lightly poached meringues on custard. A little bit of like craft paper note, but tons and tons of il flottant, that sort of, yeah, lightly poached sweet meringues. Oh, that is so different and so amazing. All right, let's give it one more brew. As I said, I'm not going to do a long session here. I mean, these sessions fly by. It's been about 20 minutes already. Yeah, so different in the empty cup. You heating up? No, you're not. Always forget to push it twice. Fruity, creamy. There's creams in this, there's fruits in this, but emphasis. This is a great A-B because there's enough similarities for you to be challenged, but so many differences for you to really spot the variations of cultivar. That tangerine little zestiness in here is really interesting. And that offsets, I mean, it suits perfectly with those Christmas style cookies, those baking spices, you know? All right, another infusion here. And we'll wait a few seconds and then we will do the Jin Mudan. So the note that I'm getting here, which is the Jin Mudan sort of character that I'm starting to map out for myself in my own education, is Jin Mudan has naturally a buttery sort of baking spices. This has brandy snaps. You know, it's biscuity. It's creamy. It's a bit buttery. It has that. It has like a layer in it where you can have all this other stuff, these aromatic notes on the top that are partly due to the leaf, but also due to, you know, the terroir and due to the production, the skills of the producers to bring out those. And as I've said in previous videos, aromatics are the areas that are more controllable by the producers. They can change them. They can accent them in different ways. But there's this sort of middle running layer that speaks of the leaf, that says, hey, this is about me and I'm creamy. This is a creamy note to it. Again, color difference, very noticeable. This is probably the lightest Da Hong Pao that we've purchased in terms of color, but not in terms of taste. Although in terms of taste, probably the highest and brightest. And look, you know, I think that just in general, I tend to lean more towards the less roasted Yanchas as I move in my tea journey. I think that part of the reason is because sometimes the roasting is a way of covering. And if you get very heavily roasted, look, I'm sure I'm probably next week I'll find a really amazing heavily roasted oolong and I'll go, why did I say that? But like, let me just say it off the cuff. You know, generally heavily roasted oolongs, yanchas, have more of a tendency to be trying to cover over the weakness of a tea. You know, you're building up that strength, right? It's like, go on, let's roast it up. It'll be a roasty toasty. It'll hit them around the nose. Woo, roasty, you know? And that's not to say that the roast isn't there for a reason and doesn't do amazing things, right? But I do think sometimes you can over roast a tea, and the tendency is that is because you want to try to make it better than it could be. Whereas if you go light, it's like nowhere to hide, people. This is who the tea is. Right. Oh, it is great. If you loved Summer Haze and you like that mangosteen bright tropical fruit note, then this tea is that, but then it has these vanilla fudgy notes underneath that just play so perfectly together. A great, great tea. An absolute crowd pleaser, I'm sure. But it's still got that wet woods and varnish, and, you know, it's still got that yancha, you know, non-food notes that we desire, or at least I desire, because I want to feel like I'm tasting the world, not just tasting food. All right, here we go. Oh, aftertaste on this. A little bit of, is that? I want to say a tiny bit of cooked banana. A little bit of cooked banana. Cooked apple and banana in there. Yeah. So it's glorious. A fruity compote bomb, but with vanilla fudges. This one reminds me a little bit more like what I loved about Lost Robe, those vanilla bourbon casks. But then it's got the creamy, cakey note to it. Those biscuits, those speculoos, the brandy snaps, the gingerbread cookies, the butter cookies, the cherry sponges. And now let's talk about the finish of this one, because this has got a finish on it. It's got what I've tried many times and failed to describe, which has got this metallic ring to it. So I do not mean it tastes metallic. It's got and I'm sort of turning it into a sound because I can't describe it any better. It feels like my mouth is going, it's like, those tuning forks and you go, boom. It feels like my mouth is just making that frequency. It's like a ring. It's not tingly. It's like a one, it's not like fuzzy and zzz. It's just, it's amazing, amazing, amazing finish. And it goes, and it's right on the tip of my tongue, It's like my tongue has become like an antenna to the world. It's amazing, amazing finish on this. Still got that lovely juicy sweetness, cherry. We'll go cherry. The cherry is the common theme across these two. Less tropical. Amazing, two amazing teas. And a great back-to-back. If you want to do a cultivar comparison, highly recommended. As I said, similarities are there and enough difference, certainly enough difference to really make you understand the power and beauty of genetics, of the plant adapting to its terroir, changing its genetics. And it's also worth noting that, genetics are not consistent. So, a Jin Mudan is not a Jin Mudan. Like one person's farmer's Jin Mudan is not the same as another farmer's Jin Mudan. It's sort of like, even like saying that cultivar name, even though I say that's important, which it is, it's like, that is still a grouping, right? So you can because every time you take a cutting of a plant, there's going to be mutations in the plant. It's going to be different. So, but there is certainly a theme in this Jin Mudan of that biscuity, buttery, creamy, mid-lows, if you're putting it in an EQ terminology. Anyway, I'm going to keep sipping on this. This has brightened me up. Thank you so much for indulging in my slightly off-kilter tasting sessions. Let me know how you feel about these, and I will see you for my next tasting, maybe a little bit more perky than today. That's it, tea heads. Check out other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Do I have to keep saying it? Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.